Hello everyone, this is the Shane Duggan Show, episode 3. I hope you all enjoyed episode 2 and I hope you didn't get too bad nightmares after poor old Mad Mick. He's harmless behind it all and we had a great crack with him. Thanks for everyone who listened. My next guest at this time is another special guest, Mr. Damien Geoghegan.
Hi Shane, how
How's
are
it
you?
going, Gigs?
Yeah, good to see you.
How are you?
All right now, yeah.
Big week for you now in the hurling.
Yeah, everything going all right, yeah. Looking forward to the game now on Sunday. And
Sunday at half 2.
Sunday at half 2, yeah, and we'll see where it goes from there, yeah.
De La Salle and Mount Sion in the other semi-final.
De La Salle and Mount Sion in the other semi-final, yeah, of course. Ballygunner, Munster Senior Hurling Champions, going for 6 in a row here in Waterford. Very much up against it, but certainly up for it.
Yeah, geez, tis mad to have one team just dominating like that. Nobody can stay winning forever like that.
Yeah, that tends to happen now and again. I mean, if you go back through the club championship here in Waterford, you can go back. I mean, there was clubs in the past there in zone. I think they won nine in a row once upon a time.
Jesus,
Mount Sion,
that's
yeah,
staggering.
absolutely, yeah. So Ballygunner have put quite a number of them together now. So yeah.
But I firmly believe that there's no team that's unbeatable.
Oh no, that's the beauty of sport. And teams have to. Things change. Things change all the time, and things, teams can't go on winning forever.
Like, it doesn't take a genius. Like most people, if anyone was picking, they'd say it's going to be De La Salle Ballygunner final. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as that. I actually think Mount Sion will give De La Salle a very good game as well.
Yeah, well, we'll see now.
They were very impressive against Lismore.
We'll certainly see now on Sunday. Mount Sion were extremely impressive against Lismore, and if you think about it, Lismore were so impressive in their game before that. So Mount Sion De La Salle will be certainly a great game. Two great city rivals, Ballygunner, Dungarvan, all to play for.
And I noticed as well, it's on Sunday. It was originally supposed to be Saturday night. Their phobia of the lights has come back.
Oh well, look, I wouldn't really get into that now, but it's on now for Sunday at half 2, and that's when it'll be decided. So lights or no lights.
And best of luck to yourself. And
thanks, appreciate that.
Yourself and Dum Dum and Mike Barry and John O'Shea and the rest of the lads and all the team.
There's a great bunch out there, a great bunch of lads involved in Dungarvan, so really looking forward to it now, I'm really enjoying my time there,
They showed some severe character. That Abbeyside game, I can't remember being at a game as good as it, lad.
Yeah, that game, the game against Abbeyside was fantastic. It was fantastic for a number of reasons. It was the atmosphere alone there was just fantastic. You could sense it coming off the stand there, down onto the field. And I must say, great credit is due to both teams there. It was really, really good hurling, really good manly stuff. There was no dirty stroke pulled in the entire game, and of course there was, the last 5 minutes of it was just phenomenal stuff.
Abbeyside
really
got a goal. Dungarvan got a goal.
Yeah.
Abbeyside got another goal.
Absolutely.
The boys got another goal.
Dungarvan were hit by 2 sucker punches really from Abbeyside, but recovered and came out the right side of it. So and as I say, it's a credit to both clubs, and it was great to come out with the win.
And great to see a full house in Fairfield as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, I mean, it's in Fairfield where the county board here gets their numbers. And I know there was a discussion last year about doing up Welsh Park and all of that, but the support for Gaelic games here in the West is phenomenal, and I'm sure there'll be another full house now again.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully the boys can get the job done now. We'll certainly be shouting for them all the way.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, absolutely.
And moving on, a question I have for you, and I'm sure many people that listen to this have for you, is originally, obviously, you're Councillor Geoghegan. How did you get interested in politics?
I've been interested in, say, politics and current affairs, local issues since I was a child, really, to be honest with you. There was always the newspaper was always bought in our house every day. It was the Cork Examiner, and I used to have to go down to Micheline Whelan's there, down to Ned Whelan's, and get it from my father every single day. And I used to read the paper myself every day.
He's still going, so Whelan's is
still
absolutely
going strong.
Yeah,
and every week I'd always go and get the local papers, and I was always reading papers. Always took an interest in current affairs and that. My father would have been very much involved in Fine Gael locally in the party. He was, he would have been the chairman of the local branch and that, and he would have been very much involved in Austin DC's campaigns down through the years, and I would have been helping out at election time and stuff like that. And the day polling day back in the 80s, back in the 70s and 80s and up into the early 90s was much different than it is now. Nowadays, when polling day happens for the day, for the 24 hours before that, there's a broadcasting moratorium. People aren't allowed to talk on radio about elections and that. But back then, you actually had people standing at the polling stations. Various different parties were there, and they were making sure that their voters came out. And there was always activity at the polling stations. That's gone now. But it's that, you know, it was on days like that I would have actually cut my teeth from an electioneering point of view. But I decided then when I was in my, I suppose, mid-20s, as it were, that it was something that I'd like to pursue. And I always wanted to be a councillor, basically. I always wanted to serve on the town council. And I was lucky enough for my first attempt 20 years ago now. I'm in my
20 years ago?
1999. I was 30 at the time.
I was 4.
Yeah. It was a great year, 1999. United did the treble that year as well.
Oh my God, they did. Oh, they got a soldier.
That's right, yeah. But
no,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So no, I stood for election, and I won a seat. And the thing is, I didn't have a family member retiring from the council, or there wasn't a family seat to be handed to me. It was something I had to carve out for myself. So I'm very proud of the fact that I went out and I won a seat, and I've held it since. And in 2004, then, and in 2009, 2014, and in the elections just passed, I'm really, really grateful to the people who have returned me to once again serve on the council.
But even the poll, didn't you top the poll in the election just gone?
Yeah, I've topped the poll in the last few elections. But look, that's just, it's really humbling when so many people come out and they endorse your candidacy in such large numbers. I mean, you'd always just be grateful to be elected and to win a seat, but to top the poll, it can be special. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's just kind of like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always really, really nice. But as I say, it's at the end of the day, all of us as councillors we're all equally elected. We all have a mandate from the public. But you know, to be returned with such a large mandate and to have the public come out in such large numbers and support me, it's something it's really, really humbling, and it's something I'm very grateful for.
But even from my point of view, it's great, like, because you're only just around the corner there, so that's your home place.
Just around the corner there in Thomas's Terrace is where I was born and reared. And actually, if you look out here, we're up here now in your bedroom, looking out the window, and that's where I used to play as a kid out there. And
the old street leagues,
down there playing soccer and belting balls around the road. And for a number of years, actually, funnily enough, say when my generation would have went off the road, for a number of years there was no children on the road until your generation actually came along.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was children back on the road again, and now I notice there's quite a number of children back there again. I see young Malarkeys and all of them out there again playing, and that's great to see, you know.
Yeah, oh geez, and they're a good old crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And there's even some coming up from Thomas's Terrace playing.
Yeah, absolutely, which is great to see, because as I say, for a number of years there was no children on the road.
Yeah, it is great. So that's where it starts, don't it? The hurling and
soccer. That's
where it starts.
That's where you learn your trade out on the road. Not that I was ever any good at soccer now or anything, Shane, but you know, I was always the last to be picked on a team.
I can relate to that myself some. But we used to goal there for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The St Mary's there, that's all is used. When was that started used for voting? Is that
it's always as long as I can go back anyway. The school has always been used for voting. Yeah,
sure. The kids love that for an all day off. Sure,
yeah, it used to be great, and it used to be great there actually back in the early 80s. There was 3 general elections at one stage. There was in the early 1980s, and you also had the European and locals in 1979. So there was quite a number of elections, but it was great. That was a boarding school at that time. And I used to love it, of course, going around.
St Mary's was a boarding school?
Yeah, the Presentation Convent had a boarding school there, yeah, for quite a number of years.
I'm passing that every day in my life.
That was a boarding school, yeah. We used to have great fun there when the boarders would be doing their study in the evening time there. In the winter we'd be climbing up in the trees, banging at the windows and making faces at them and all that and having the crack. But yeah, and the day of an election would always be great there as well. I always used to be going around giving stickers and badges.
Always a good buzz around the place.
Always, yeah. But that like St Mary's there, or the Presentation Convent as we would have known it as, or the Pres would have been our playground as it were, as well. You know, we'd be in there swinging out of the trees and up in the roof of the shade. And
so you went from you obviously your early days of school St Mary's.
I actually went to school in the Mercy, funnily enough. Yeah, I went to school in the Mercy.
That's the art school, like.
Yeah. You would have had the Mercy Convent and the Presentation Convent. I went to school in my primary school up until I made my communion in the Mercy, and then I would have come up to the Brothers, and then I would have done my primary in the Brothers and secondary in the Brothers also.
And funnily enough, you probably would have had some of the same teachers as I had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Collins and
Mr. Kiley, who recently retired this summer actually. Yeah. They would have taught me back in the 1980s. I did my leaving cert in 1986. I would have went in there in 1981, 82. I actually would have been in first year in the old school, which is still there with the iron staircase, and then in the what would have been new then at the time, which is now the secondary school there, I would have spent 4 years there as well. So I would have had teachers like Mr. Barry, John Barry, who recently passed away. We became great friends.
He'd have wicked interest in politics altogether.
Yeah, and we became really, really good friends over the last number of years, and we kept in touch. And
sadly, a brilliant maths and geography teacher.
Absolutely, brilliant man. And Pat O'Halloran taught me English. Pat very sadly died at a very young age as well. And this year then Kevin Kiley and Pat Collins, who's a neighbour of mine in Silver Springs, they both retired. They would be very much associated with the school over many, many years. Pat Stack would have taught me there.
He probably 3 or 4 years ago he retired. Same with Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, Mr. Scanlon. I remember actually his first day in the Brothers Secondary School was my first day in first year. So he would have started there on the same day. So he's retired since. Greg Ash, he would have been there as well. And
the king of the lockers, boy.
Johnny Hughes, all there. And Eamon Martin, of course. Who also was taken.
May God be good to him, boy.
I used to really enjoy Eamon's classes as well, because Eamon taught me maths and he taught me Irish, but he was also very political. Eamon was very much involved in politics as well.
He had a great interest in politics as well.
Eamon was very much involved in the Workers' Party, and in later years Democratic Left and the Labour Party. And we used to have great old banter. And
jeez, if there was ever a proud Kerry man.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And he used to always see our education as being more than just about books and about learning from books, and he used to be always talking about different aspects of life, and that's something I really enjoyed about him. And of course we had Jim Ryan as well.
He was the principal, wasn't he?
Yeah, Jim was principal, and he taught English for many, many years. And Jim and myself are great friends now, and he's also a neighbour of mine in Silver Springs. But
all the teachers are coming up to Silver Springs, lad.
Yeah, that's where all the teachers used to live, actually. If you go back when Silver Springs was built, quite a lot of teachers bought houses and lived there. But yeah, Jim Ryan. Jim also comes from a very strong political background, very strong political family. The Ryans in the Nire and 4 Mile Water, who've given decades of service here in Waterford. But Jim and myself are great friends, and we used to discuss politics. And I used to love actually going into school when Jim was teaching us civics, because we could discuss various different aspects about politics and society and community and that.
But just think, like you're on about there, like teachers talking to you about like politics, like wouldn't it be great? I don't know, maybe this might sound stupid. Wouldn't it be great if there was an actual, for your junior cert, leaving cert, to study politics?
Yeah, I think that.
Is that ever
like at that time
brought up?
Yeah, at that time we used to have a civics class once a week, and I don't think it's enough. I think people should be taught about how civil society works, absolutely, and have those discussions in class. It's not all about learning just your maths and your English and whatever. You need to learn about what's happening out in the world and analyse those things. I mean, we're in a really, really strange place now in the world, if you think about it, with Brexit happening across the water, and then you have Donald Trump in power in America, and you have Putin in Russia, and that's we do, as the old Chinese proverb says, we do live in interesting times.
Too interesting at times. Yeah. But I know obviously you did religion in school. That wasn't an exam subject for you,
it wasn't.
Was it?
It wasn't an exam
subject. It was
subject,
for me.
no, yeah.
My class was actually the last class that did that for the junior cert as a test.
We didn't do it as an exam, but we did religion in school, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but they got rid of it. I suppose, we would have been the last class to do it for our junior cert. And then it's just totally gone. But they still do it probably 3 or 4 times a week in the school.
Yeah, funny enough, say prior to us doing our inter-cert or junior cert as it's known now, we would have had, say, like religion exams, just because the teacher would have given us exams at like Christmas time and summertime and stuff like that. But by and large, no.
Non-official state exams.
No, absolutely not, no.
Yeah, geez, tis one school that is just... What about was Mr. Murphy there when you were there? Yeah. He would have been the principal now when I was there. Yeah,
John Murphy would have taught me chemistry, taught me science for my junior cert, and he taught me chemistry for my leaving cert.
It's mad to think now that like in the last...
Great teacher.
Mr. Murphy,
great teacher, yeah.
Lovely man. But the last 5 or 6 years, the amount of them that are all kind of retiring.
That's right.
In a short space of time between each other.
Yeah, that kind of generation have now retired. But I suppose, like when I was going to school there in the early 1980s, that's 35 years ago now or more. I would have thought that when they were teaching me, like they were way, way older than what they actually were. They were all young men in their 20s and very early 30s at the time. But when you're in your mid to late teens, you think people are way older than what they actually are.
In reality.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Would you have gone on school tours back then as well?
Yeah,
was that more new thing? Or?
Yeah, there was school tours introduced by Michael Scanlon and Kevin Kiley and them, and they were very much instrumental in organising tours to all over Europe, actually.
Mr. Scanlon used to bring the TYs to London for a drama trip, I think.
Absolutely,
I didn't do TY now.
Of course, the shows and all that, yeah.
I said I'd move on to 5th year,
Eamon O'Martin brought a crowd of us down to Kerry one time. We had a great crack. We stayed in a hostel in Killarney, and he showed us around. Yeah, that was great fun. Back in the early 1980s,
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're going on now as much as they were at one time.
Yeah.
Someone is going to have to pick it up now because Mr. Kiley was the main.
Yeah, Mr. Kiley has been running them for the last few years, and I think it's great. Ronan now, for example, my own son Ronan would have went on a few of them there, and it's fantastic opportunity for young people to get to go and travel throughout Europe.
They went to Barcelona, did they?
Yeah. Back in the early 80s, they used to go to 7 and 8 countries on the tour. They'd go right throughout Europe, but that's great. School tours are great.
And they're giving up, it's funny because more often than not, you go on the school tour when you have your week off in Halloween or your 2 weeks in Easter, whatever the fact may be. So the teachers see the students all year round, and then they're off, and they're still with them when they're actually off.
Absolutely, yeah. They're with them at Easter and Halloween, as you're saying. But that goes to show you how dedicated teachers are as well in their work, that they do that kind of work, that they do that kind of stuff with students as well by going on school tours.
Mo was here there last week, Mo. And
I know, a great friend of mine, yeah.
And brilliant actor. And he said what he noticed about the school tours was he actually noticed how much fun and crack the teachers were having themselves.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Amongst themselves.
Yeah, but you wouldn't you have great fun if you were at a school tour?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose we went to Italy in second year. In second year. And third year then we went to Amsterdam. I'd like to go to Amsterdam now that I'm nearly 24. I was only 14 when I went. I think I kind of missed the boat there.
But I mean, if you go back, say, prior to the school tours being organised in the Brothers down through the years, I mean, you were lucky if you went on a school tour in primary school. You might have went to Kilkenny maybe and stopped off in Tramore on the way home. That would have been the extent of your school tour.
And that was as good as it got. Yeah,
absolutely. And that was great too. But the ones where you can kind of broaden your horizons, as it were, and go to places like Paris and Berlin and stuff like that. That's marvellous.
It's Jesus, brilliant. We're the weekend now coming, or the weekend just gone actually. We out for a drink, Renton. You were celebrating your anniversary, sure. Did I see that?
It was 22 years married, myself and Natanya, on the 20th of September. So
she's a saint, right?
She's a saint of a woman, yeah. So we went out for a couple of drinks on Friday night, yeah.
22 years married.
That was culture night. I always go out on culture night. So we went for a couple of drinks that night.
It's nice to get out by for a few. It's nice to just.
Nice to chill out, yeah. Relax.
Get out of it all. Yeah, he we were on about Mo there. Mo spoke very highly of you. Did you meet where he said? I can't remember where he said he met you. He met you somewhere.
Yeah. One of the very first events I ever did as a counsellor a number of years ago was for the No Name Club in Dungarvan. And
fun without alcohol.
And Mo was a member of the No Name Club at the time. He was only a young fella, but Mo's family and my family would be friends going back quite a bit, and we've become very good friends. We've met at different events, and of course, anytime I've ever asked him to do something or be involved in something, he has just absolutely done it with a heart.
Obliged, no problem
very
at all.
Extremely obliging. I mean, you know yourself. Anyone that knows him will know just how nice a fella he is, and he deserves all the success that he's having.
Yeah, he's doing very well for himself now. In fairness,
a great actor, yeah, great guy.
Of course, his uncle Liam was also
absolutely. It's in the family, and I can remember his grandmother, Mrs. Stack, from Main Street. She was very much involved in the choral society, the musical and choral society back in Dungarvan, back in the 60s, 70s and 80s. She used to look after the cast there actually, and look after catering and all of that. So she was somebody who I would have known as a child when my mother would have been involved in the choral society. So that tradition is there in Mo Dunford's family.
And it carried on, and to this day it's still going on.
Absolutely, yeah. Great tradition there. And Liam obviously went off in the late 70s, early 1980s and carved out a career for himself, and now Mo is doing the same, and he's going from strength to strength.
In many ways, I suppose like it's become a slogan at this stage. The Greenway effect.
You're always slagging me about that, the Greenway effect.
Oh yeah, but hey,
what an effect it's had. Yeah.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did that all come about? There must have been severe planning gone into that.
It took 10 years really to deliver it, and even though it was in the ownership, even though it was in public ownership, it would have been owned by CIE, who would have ran the trains on it in later years. But you also went back then to actually the Great Southern Railway Company, which was there pre the War of Independence. There was all sorts of legalities and technicalities that had to be overcome, but they were eventually overcome, and there was a lot of opposition to it initially. People felt that it would bring strangers out into the countryside, and it would cause all sorts of problems, and there'd be problems with trespassing, and people that wouldn't be used to country life might be interfering with farming activities. There was all of those sorts of concerns and things.
But so far today, we haven't experienced that.
That was never going to be things like that were never going to materialise. And I think, well, we were really lucky in the sense that the Smarter Travel, a competition was held nationally for Smarter Travel towns, and Dungarvan Town Council at the time applied for funding under Smarter Travel. And Joe Flaherty, who was the town clerk, and there was a really good council in place at that time, we had decided that if we could get the money for under Smarter Travel, the first thing we would do is we would upgrade the portion of the Greenway that's there now from Abbeyside, say, out towards the Barnawee and work out towards Clonea. And if we could make a success of that, well, then we would show to other people right throughout the length of the county, hey, look, it's working. All of your fears, wouldn't be realised. So that's what we did, and we were really lucky. Leo Varadkar was the Minister for Transport at the time. We went to Dublin to see him, and of course he knew exactly what and where we were talking about, because he his mother was from Dungarvan and he would have been down around here. And before I left his office that evening, he called me back, and he left the others out, and he said to me, you'll have the money within a few weeks. And lo and behold, the money did come through from his office within a few weeks. Alan Kelly, who was his junior minister, announced the funding, and that first section, and if you remember, if people cast their minds back, there was a portion of the track there on Abbeyside which was used for antisocial behaviour, lighting of fires. There was lots of trouble there. It wasn't lit at night. You couldn't walk on it. And when
all sorts of shenanigans
going on. So when we did that work, which also proved a little bit controversial, but I suppose maybe it's best to leave that in the past now.
But sometimes if you got to get something done, there is going to be an element
absolutely,
of controversy there.
And if you have an image or a vision of what it's going to be like when it's finished, you stick with it. And it has been tremendous. I mean, the number of visitors coming to Dungarvan has been just phenomenal.
But it's living proof. You clearly had a vision, like.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lot of people. A lot of people deserve enormous credit for it. And
it's great to see the summer time. You see the families down there often. They're
and as soon as the summer holidays come, or even the midterm breaks when they come, it's like turning on a tap. The town just fills up with visitors. Now they have one in Mayo, the Western Greenway, around Westport and that. And in fairness, the business people there, and there was members of the Chamber of Commerce, members of the local media up there, members of staff of the council there, councillor, and they came down and they spoke to the people here in Dungarvan, and they said, look, this is what's going to happen. I think a lot of people here maybe didn't really think that it was going to bring in such large numbers, but it has been phenomenal. Now
there was a bit of negativity surrounding it.
I think they were saying, like, are we really going to be getting these large numbers from the Greenway? But it has been phenomenal. I mean, what we set out to do is to bring in 50,000 visitors a year on a constant basis. Now it has been phenomenal. Last year we did 250,000. Okay, so it's 5 times more than what we expected. Now we don't expect to get 250,000 every year.
No.
But the numbers have remained steady since it opened 3 years ago, and it has been increasing, and it's extremely popular.
Sitting in the bar there, like there.
Absolutely, and it's done. And if you think about it, what the Greenway is it's a quality product really, and it's something that we really didn't have here in Waterford before to sell to such a wide audience. We're now getting the numbers in, and now we can show off the rest of the county, as it were. I mean, I think it's fantastic that we can get visitors in here into Dungarvan off the Greenway, and then the whole of West Waterford opens up to them. You have Ardmore, you have Ring, you have Lismore, you have Mount Mellery, you have all of that opening up in front of them. The River Blackwater, of course, is magnificent, and that's really what we're aiming. We don't just sit back now and say, we have the Greenway and that's it. We need to kind of build on it.
Yeah,
and it's really
it's an ongoing thing, guys.
Yeah, and they're trying to develop greenways now all over the country, various different councils, and it's really, really interesting. I've said it a few times to people. It's amazing to think that we now have people coming from Kerry, which to most people would be, that's the tourism mecca in Ireland, as it were. They're now coming down and they're speaking to us and asking us, how did we do it?
And one time it was probably the other way around.
It would have been the other way around. It's not that long ago in Dungarvan there would have been signposts for Killarney. That day is over. We're very much on the map now ourselves. And
it's great to see that.
And when you see when there's programmes on TV and they're talking about towns in Ireland that are on the up and ones that are doing well and all that, Dungarvan is now very much in the mix, and Dungarvan is very much getting mentioned. And there's a spin-off to that. I was talking to a girl recently who's in Capperquin, and she was telling me that she's thinking of opening a business there on the back of the upturn in visitor numbers that she sees. So that's what we've got to constantly build on and look to the future.
But even the lads there, like there's, I know, it's a 3 or 4. What do they do? Bike hires for the day.
Yeah.
They're benefiting from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just see the number of businesses that have opened up. Now you're going to always have businesses open and businesses closed and all of that, but by and large, there's been an increase in the number of restaurants. We've a new hostel in town now. There's another, bank houses coming back into use.
What was actually there before that hostel? What was there?
That was the council offices, and it closed in 1999 when the new civic offices were built. So by and large, you could say that building wasn't being used for the last 20 years. So now it's back in use, and it's fantastic.
It was completely idle.
Yeah. And I think when Bank House now is opened up in the next few weeks as well, that'll really give another boost to that part of town. You know, it's the most prominent building in town. When you come in, you come over the bridge there, and you see this fantastic building in front of you, and it's great to see that being brought back into use.
But even people that get buses from wherever, once you get off the bus,
absolutely,
you're there.
Absolutely, that's the part of town where the visitors will come in, and you know, places like the hostel that meets a certain end of the market, you know, and then you know you have the hotels and you have Airbnbs, and you know, and you've high class restaurants and top notch, and then you've ordinary cafes and all strands of.
But as you get off the bus,
are being met.
Isn't it so convenient? You're hostel there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like, we've been lucky, I'd say, really, with the last 2 years. Last year was a fantastic summer.
I mean, the weather was beautiful,
fantastic. This year hasn't been as good as last year, but we've had some good moments, you know, and. Like I thought it was really interesting. I went out last weekend to watch the replay of the All-Ireland football final, and I was down the Anchor watching it. The place was packed with Dublin people.
Plenty Dublin jerseys.
Plenty Dublin people, you know, and that's something that we really noticed as well. Lots of Dublin people with the building of the motorway. The motorway really brings you all the way from Dublin down into Kilmeaden, and then you're 25 minutes up the road and you're in Dungarvan. That's phenomenal. And we're getting them in from all over. But I thought it was really noticeable on that occasion last week that, you know, the amount of Dublin people that are here. And then when I get chatting to people visiting town, and they'll tell me, oh yeah, we were down at the Greenway and doing the Greenway last year, and we came back this year and we did the Greenway and we might have went fishing, or we came down and we did the Greenway again and we played some golf.
Yeah, there's always something to do.
You know, absolutely. When they came down to do the Greenway on the first occasion, they realised, hey, there's a lot more around here as well, and they're coming back for repeat business, which is great. And the you know, the Airbnb hosts and the hotel owners and all, they're telling me that, you know, they're getting a lot of repeat business. People are coming back
again. What did you think? What did you think of the football replay? What did you think? I think Kerry had their chance the first day.
Kerry had their chance the first day, yeah, and I think they backed off in the last 10 to 15 minutes, and I think they invited Dublin onto them, and then Dublin got the equaliser, and I thought, you know, Dublin are a phenomenal team, really.
That's 5 in a row now, Gigs.
That's 5 in a row.
Never been done before.
Never been done before. Yeah. Kerry went close, of course, in 82, but
that famous, am I right?
Famous Seamus Darby goal. Yeah. I remember it well of a wet day. Yeah.
And of course, Kilkenny in hurling, they were stopped in 2010 by Tip for the 5 in a row. The drive for five, as it was dubbed.
It's extremely difficult to win.
It's hard. It's hard to put them. It's hard
to win. It's hard to win back. Like they say, great teams win back-to-back titles. So you can imagine how great a team would be to win. I mean, I can remember that Kerry team that didn't make the 5 in a row. They were phenomenal. They really were phenomenal.
Were they that good, Doug?
They were brilliant. Yeah, they were absolutely brilliant. Now you have the Dublin team, different setup now, kind of almost. They're so professional in their approach, and
that's the way you have to be.
That's the way you have to be. Their lifestyle, everything, you know, it's different than it was years ago. You know, showing up for training 2 nights a week and then going out and trying to. That's not the way it works anymore.
No, not I hope.
Yeah,
but I think hurling is in such a good place now because Tip won it this year. Last year, Limerick won it. The year before, Galway won it. They bet us. Tip won it again in 16. Like
it's gone around. It's gone around. Yeah, absolutely. Any team can win it in any given year.
Yeah.
Now,
so look at Galway gigs.
Waterford is the only county not to win in All Ireland in the modern era, which it's something that has to be put right.
That's a sin.
You know, it's 61 years now.
If you look at the calibre of players,
absolutely,
it's a mortal sin.
Like who would have when the team made the breakthrough, say in 1998, the team with Brown and Dan and Hartley and all of them, like you would have said to yourself, we'll definitely be picking one off now in the next 8 to 10 years. They had one day All Ireland under 21 in 1992.
Yeah,
Offaly
Peter Power didn't Peter Power train that team?
Absolutely, and you know they had beaten Offaly. That was an Offaly team that was, you know, laden down with stars. They came along and they won. You know, they won one in 98.
Were they the first team to win it through the back door, Gigs?
They were, yeah, absolutely. And if you think that here we are now 21 years later and Waterford still haven't landed in All Ireland, but that's sport. I mean, nothing. You won't get it. You have to work for it. Nothing comes because it's your turn. You know, that's not the way it works.
Geez, I look at it there now when I was younger. We used to go up to every game. My brother, my mother and father. We used to go up to Thurles. Now Crow Park is lovely. I love Thurles. And back then you had Big Dan, Ken McGrath, Owen Kelly, Tony Brown, Paul Flynn. Legends, serious players. And I know we won Munsters. Yeah. Brilliant to win a Munster. But
not winning the All Ireland, you know, it's something that it's a monkey on our back here in Waterford.
2007 was the year, Gigs.
Yeah, the longer it goes before you win one, the harder it becomes, and that's the reality of it. The pressure just builds and builds. But
remember Limerick caught us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
we were after playing We played 3 weeks in a row.
3 weeks in a row. We'd beaten them in the Munster final. Dan, if you remember that day, he got a hat-trick in the rain above in Thurles. But they caught us then in the semi-final, and then they themselves were beaten in the final. But that era also produced the great Kilkenny team. So
probably
that's just
the best,
the way it goes.
and that was probably the best team ever.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Mayo in the football. You know, they've come in the last number of years, and yet they've come up against that great Dublin team. So
Waterford and Mayo are quite similar.
Yeah. And I think there's two wins that need to happen in the GA, and I think Mayo to win Sam, I think that needs to happen. That'll be fantastic for the GA, and I think Waterford to win the hurling needs to happen as well. I think that would also be fantastic. As I say, we're the only team, hurling county, not to win it in the modern era.
But sure, even like
Clare have had their few.
Clare beat Cork in 2013. That was kind of a freak year.
Yeah.
Tip, Kilkenny, all.
Yeah, Clare have won 3 now in my lifetime, so they've had their few. Galway have picking them off.
Even like Galway won it in 2017. They I remember talking to all the Galway people afterwards that day, and they said to me, if Waterford were playing anyone else today, we would have been shouting for them. It's just the fact that
it was a unique pairing in 2017, and I think sporting public like that and enjoyed that. It was unique, and
something
they
different.
Wouldn't have begrudged either team the All Ireland. But I actually thought at half time we had it, but that's the way it goes. Galway were phenomenal that day. Fair play to them.
Yeah, funny how it worked out. They did most of the hurling, and we were only a point or two down.
That's right. That's why I thought we're a good strong second half team, as it were, and we had an opportunity. We went a point up in the second half, and if you remember, Kevin Moore missed a point. I actually firmly believe that if that point went over, we would have driven on. Him missing that point actually gave Galway such a lift that day. It was phenomenal. Galway also that day did exactly what they needed to do to beat Waterford. They needed to score from distance, and they did. Every ball they hit from the half forward line, from the middle of the field, went over the bar.
Oh, their striking was deadly.
Their striking was unbelievable that day.
Even your man, when Jason Flynn came on, he made a wicked difference.
Absolutely, yeah. And fair play to Galway.
Well, I still think it is one that got away.
Absolutely, that was our chance.
It was there for the taking, for definite. Yeah. Even I was at the quarter final there a few weeks ago. It was on before the boys played Abbey-side, and Big Dan wasn't on the pitch 5 minutes, and he caught a ball and laid it off to Paddy Pendergrass back in the net.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Dan still has it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete if you think about it. I mean, for his age, and he's still playing. And
do you think he could be involved with the senior setup this year? Hopefully he's there. A good man.
Yeah, it looks as if he's part of the mix. It was on the news there this evening. That
hopefully a good man.
We'll have a man appointed now soon, and all good people with Waterford hurling at heart.
He gets on with all the boys greatly.
Yeah, well regarded.
Yeah, there's a few names going around, but I just hope.
I hope we get the right.
We get the
right mix, and then we can do it. Yeah.
Look at even like traditionally, I suppose, like Wexford. They won the Leinster this year, and were extremely unlucky not to beat Tip in that semi-final.
Absolutely, yeah. Another county with a great tradition, and of course they've Davy down there now, and they're loving it right now. All my friends in Wexford tell me that Davy's a saint down there now. But at a hurling you can't beat the hurling. Best game.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
The boys they had a great school team, the Harty Cup back to back a few years ago.
Absolutely, and that's what's important. That's important when counties need to make a breakthrough, that your schools and your colleges can do it.
But I thought that's when we would.
De La Salle had won a couple of Harties, and then here West Waterford, Dacia Colleges had won the.
They won 2 back to back,
and then won the Crow Cup as well.
Yeah,
So and they produce fantastic players. I mean, just phenomenal really. And the under-21 success and the minor success were great. Yeah,
and I just. Best of luck to Waterford going forward. Hopefully, as you said, they can get the right mix.
Yeah, I mean the brand of hurling played by that under-21 team and that minor team was absolutely fantastic. People often talk about tradition and style in other counties, but the Waterford brand of hurling is as good as you get anywhere. It's simple as that.
Absolutely. Jesus, gigs, the evenings are gone by.
They're gone, Shane. Yeah. There's only
just looking out there now.
Only an evening for the fire.
Yeah, isn't it? Jeez, they're gone. Oh my God, jeez, you get start quick.
Yeah.
How would you compare to now as to when you were growing up?
How would I compare to town? Well, it's changed. It's definitely changed. But then again, I mean, towns evolve and change all the time. I'm sure if you ask somebody back in the 1980s, somebody from my mother's generation, for example, has the town changed much? She'd say, "Oh, of course it has." And now, when we're looking back towards the 1980s and 70s, we're saying, "Of course it has."
Yeah.
I remember growing up in town, for example, here, and the creamery was right in the centre of town.
Yeah, the creamery.
It was in the centre of the town. And here we are 20 years later, creamery isn't no longer there. Regrettably, it's no longer there.
The central dairies
as well. There. Absolutely, Dungarvan Crystal, Waterford Crystal, that's gone. The leather factory would have been there as a child when I was growing up. Things are changing all the time. Things are evolving all the time, you know. So.
And obviously, gigs like politics is your passion, like. But obviously, you would have been
The
working
towns,
like.
Dungarvan and Waterford are my two passions. Yeah.
And that's great. That's great to hear that.
It manifests itself through politics, but.
But where would you have worked in Dungarvan?
Where did I work? Well, my first job actually was in JR's Chipper, which is now Kebabish. Your friends in Kebabish.
Oh, Moon.
Hi Moon, if you're listening.
Hi Moon, and hi Ali.
Hi you lads.
Hey,
all great friends of ours.
We ordered up a few kebabs there.
So I started working there in 1985. I was there in the summer of 85, so I was there when I was 16. And then I got a job actually on the building of GSK. The building of the GSK plant. I was there over the course
Stafford Miller, like?
No, the GSK plant.
Oh, great.
So that was the winter of 1987. 86, 87, yeah. Tough, hard winter. I enjoyed it. I was probably the youngest person on the site there. I'd say I was 17, yeah. I was there in 86. And after that then, when that obviously was completed, I got a job in Cappoquin Chickens. And I used to go up and down there every day. And then there was an outbreak of salmonella.
When did that close down, gigs?
Cappoquin Chickens, then it went through many different phases and it eventually closed. I think it's really regrettable, and I think when you look at the problems that the beef industry are going through at the moment, I think you can look at the poultry industry in Ireland and see the exact same thing happening to the beef industry as happened to poultry. You go back to the 80s and the early 90s, 1 in every 3 poultry products in Ireland came out of Cappoquin. And now Cappoquin Chickens no longer exists, but yet people are eating more chicken than they ever have done. Cheap imports kill them. The price of chicken itself killed them. Chicken is now cheaper to buy in a supermarket than it was 30 years ago when I worked in Cappoquin Chickens. That's phenomenal.
That's astounding.
That's astounding stuff, but it is. You know, at that time, people got a chicken, they had it for the Sunday roast, whatever. That, you know, it was a major item of in your weekly shopping, as it were. Whereas now it's, you know, you can buy two chickens for a $5 or something.
Yeah, oh Jesus, yeah.
That's just underselling a product that's worth a lot more, basically.
4 for a $5 up in Quinlan.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And
next door to our good friend Conor Lannon.
Up to our great mate Conor, yeah. But yeah, I worked in Cappoquin Chickens. And then after that, I was just doing bits and pieces really around, and I went to England for a little while, and I worked for Tesco's in England, in the Elephant and Castle in summer and the autumn of 1989. And then,
what brought you to England, gigs?
I had no work here basically, and I
went where the work was basically.
Yeah, I went to work, and I had a good job there. I was working for Tesco's, getting serious money. I was working nights for them in the Elephant and Castle. And
did you enjoy your time there overall?
I did, yeah, I did. I stayed with my Aunt Helen down in Battersea. I had lots of money, plenty of time off, and then I got a phone call from the production manager in Stafford Miller, and he offered me the job over the phone, and I told him I'd come back, and I'd take it, and I did, and I never looked back. I was taken on actually in Stafford Miller to do a shift. I'd do 9 to 1 in the day, and then I'd go back in the evening, work 5 to 9. That's what I had agreed to do. Now that'd be fairly odd. Split shift.
A split shift, yeah.
As it turns out, while I was being trained in, one of the servicemen got a job, another job within the plant, and I got his job, so I never actually did the split shift. So I went on shift straight away. And
how many years did you spend in GSK?
I was there for 23 years. Enjoyed it. Great employer, great for the town, good conditions, good people to work with, good people to work for. And people often ask me, do I miss it? I certainly don't miss the night shift and stuff like that, but I do miss the people that I work with.
Having the crack with the lads.
Miss the lads, you miss the people that you work with for so long. And made
you
great friends there.
You would have done 3 shifts gigs, did you?
I was on a 3 shift pattern there, yeah. I did days for maybe a year or so, but it was for my time there. Yeah, I did a 3 shift pattern, which was great. Nathaniel worked there as well for 10 years.
Did you? Yeah,
she did. Yeah. So it has been great. It has been great to me and my family anyway. That's for sure.
Yeah. 23 years. That's a long time. That my own uncle Davey is still working out there. He's there. He's there a similar time to you. I'd say.
I went in there in 89, and I came out in 2012. Yeah, late 2012. Actually, just coming up now around October time. Yeah.
Geez, the time. And you alluded to what's going on with the farmers and the beef there. Now, me and a lot of my friends probably listen to this. We don't know the full extent of that. Could you just give us a basic rundown of what's going on with the poor farmers? Well,
basically what has happened is the beef processors, and that's the factory owners, they're running a really they have the market cornered. The farmer has nowhere else to sell his cattle, so they're at the mercy of the processors, and the processors aren't.
So they're calling the shots, basically.
They're calling the shots. They're dictating what the price is to the farmers. The farmers are getting about $3.50 a kilo. Now, to be making a profit, they should be up around $4.17. They reckon $4.20. So that'll tell you the difference that has to be bridged there.
That's
if you think about it, Irish beef is a premium product. It really is the best in the world. Everywhere you go, if there's Irish beef on the menu, they'll tell you it's Irish beef because you, as a consumer, will know. Well, that's the best beef that you can get.
Yeah.
But what's happening is you've got a lot of the large multiples, a lot of the large supermarkets are selling the beef below cost. They're driving the cost down. The processors in turn are cutting their costs. Or the price paid to the farmer, and that's an issue that has to be addressed right throughout the industry. Once below cost selling of a premium product is just killing the industry as far as I can see it.
And I see there was protests and all going on by Dawn Meats a number of weeks ago.
Yeah, there's also a little bit within the industry as well. You'll notice about beef plan movement, and there's various different farming associations. The farming associations and the farmers in Ireland seem to be split. There seems to be a lot of internal politics there, and they're breaking up into various different factions. Now, I actually don't think that's really good for the farmers or for agriculture in Ireland. What they need is one good strong voice, no matter, and that goes for anybody that wants to, be represented strongly. One good strong voice is better than being divided. And
there was a
little bit of division there, and became very apparent in the last week or so. But look, I'm glad that the blockades have been lifted and that people are back to work. I mean, there was workers in those factories who have bills and who have commitments, and they needed, and they were being let go, and they were being put on short time, and there was redundancies kicking in, and it was starting to turn really, really bad for everybody. So I think
hopefully
cool heads will prevail, and that farmers will get the price that they need to get, basically, to continue operating.
But that won't just happen overnight, gigs.
It won't happen overnight.
Process, is it?
It won't happen overnight, but I do think that the beef processors will have to kind of rather than just screwing the farmer into the ground for the cheapest, giving them the cheapest price that they can get the beef off him for, that has to stop.
The Ploughing Championships were on last week.
Yeah.
Did you go?
I didn't. I missed it this year, and the weather was great last week.
It's the first time.
It was the first time I've missed it in years. Yeah.
But it's the first time I can honestly say, because I've been to it myself. We used to organise a bus up with the bikes.
Always a great day out. Whether you're from the country or from the town or wherever you're from in Ireland.
But
Ploughing
traditionally,
is something else.
The weather was always horrible. And it was great.
That's right. Last year it was actually the middle day was actually cancelled because of the high winds, if you remember. But last week, I mean, it hit 28 degrees there on one day. I mean, the biggest problem they had last week was dust blowing around the site. But
one extreme to the next.
I mean, I've been there now, and you've been there a good few years. Did you ever go and see the actual ploughing?
No.
No, you see, there you go. Anyone that goes, if you tell people that, we went to the ploughing, did you see the ploughing? No.
But
and that's the beauty of it.
We were buying the cheap Adidas clothes off the package. It was probably robbed, but geez, there was good gear.
Yeah, there was. You get everything there.
No, we never actually watched the ploughing. Yeah,
nobody ever watches the ploughing.
Did you?
I mean, the first year I went, I was astonished to think that there was bands playing at 11 o'clock in the morning, everyone having to crack inside in tents and. Yeah, no, mighty stuff. Great day out. You see, it's great at this time of the year because it's the end of the really busy season for the farmers, and it's just coming off the summer season and that, and it's great day out. I mean, there was a few years ago people used to be complaining that children were being taken out of school and being brought to the ploughing.
Yeah,
good. They should be brought to places like the ploughing to see what's happening in the world.
One day won't kill them.
They learn more at the ploughing now than they would sometimes in school for a week. But and that might sound a bit flippant, but.
It's reality though.
It's going to places like the ploughing would educate you, that's for sure.
Geez, I can remember the time the TYs or the fourth years they used to go up with the brothers, but me and some of the boys I used to pally with, we went straight into fifth year, so we were trying to get on the bus for the TYs, and we failed. So I thought it'd be a great idea to organise our own bus. So more than half the class came up with us, and we went on the Thursday. And we came into school then on the Friday, and Mr. Collins was our year head. Where were you yesterday? Ploughing. Where were you yesterday? To Ploughing. Where were you yesterday? To Ploughing. He's there, I never knew there was that many farmers in the class. So everyone that was there was sent home to get a note after mum or dad with a note saying I was at the Ploughing.
The Ploughing is fantastic. I mean, there's about 100,000 people every day, being there, and the locations that they picked for the last few years, I know it was in Laois for 3 years, and now it's in Carlow. It's fantastic because of the road network. I mean, it's going to be somewhere where people can get to easily. There was at one point about maybe 7 or 8 years ago, they were actually looking at a site here in West Waterford, but I think because of our road network and because of how difficult it would be to get that number of people, that sheer volume of people in and out,
in fairness.
So in fairness to the Ploughing, the organisers, they do a great job. Yeah.
But who actually decides where it's who are these? Who decides where it's
Well, I suppose like the people who run the Ploughing Championships, Anna May McHugh and her daughter is the chief executive there now. They've been involved in it for the last number of years. They'd have a good team put together there. They'd obviously look at various different sites. There's, you're talking about, this is a big business. This is generates serious money.
Years upon years ago.
It goes back decades, yeah. And it would have started off quite small, but it's something that just built up over the years, and various different exhibitors and trade stands. They would have decided, the Ploughing is a place that we should be at, and then.
I suppose in many respects it kind of took on a life of its own.
Absolutely, took on a life of its own. It snowballed from there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great. Next year we might go next year.
We might go next year. We'll track, yeah.
I doubt. I don't think Ali or Moon or any of the boys. I don't think they're listening somehow. But
you never know. They might come with us to the Ploughing.
They might drive us up. Yeah.
They can have a look at the lamb for the kebabs.
And yours, like kebabish now gigs, like you go you go to Minis or Creation, you come back and you get to go. Did you stay open that late as well?
JR's was the first chipper to stay open until 3 o'clock in the morning. Before that, the chippers would have closed at around the same time as the pubs, maybe half an hour just after the pubs. But JR, John Ryan and Caroline, they were fantastic, and they were fantastic to work for, I must say. I actually learned more there in my time in that job than I learned in a lot of other jobs, I have to say. And like when you're working with people and dealing with people all the time, and I also learned an awful lot about business.
You wouldn't think that about a chip shop now,
would you? You'd be amazed. Once you're working with the public, you would learn so much.
I say you saw some characters.
I saw some great characters there. It's 3 o'clock, and today you'd see some of them coming in. But coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Whitechurch at that time used to be going. Was a really big, busy spot on a Sunday night, and we'd get a crowd. You get a different crowd on a Saturday night, and as you would from a Sunday night, and you'd have a different crowd on a Friday night. And what you would after a while is you'd get used to people coming in. You know exactly what they were going to order.
Yeah.
And you'd associate that person with whatever they ordered. So he'd always be known as the quarter pounder with cheese, the large fish burger. But,
and how long were you in Jars?
I was in Jars for a couple of years. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it's a couple of good summers. Great crew there. Great staff there. Yeah.
People your age or similar age, I'm obviously too young, but they often mention kiddos.
Oh yeah, kiddos. Kiddo was great. Kiddo actually lived around the corner from us here, where we're sitting now. Kiddo lived in Thomas's Terrace for a period of time. Jeez. And I was talking to someone recently about him. He's actually involved in the construction industry now in Italy. Kiddo, but Kiddo was a great character. But
the grub was meant to be
fantastic.
Notch.
Yeah, Kiddo was a really funny guy himself, and everyone knew him. And he was a character. He was, Mama Genoa is a real character.
Oh,
and so was Kiddo, and he had a real way about him, And great.
If Antoinette starts roaring at you, you're fucked.
Great. One of the town's great characters at this stage now. Yeah.
Small a basic, please.
She'll take no prisoners. That's for sure.
Geez.
She's right too.
And they close at 12:30, 1:15.
Absolutely, they don't. In later years, the chippers closed. Didn't stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of the ones like our Kebabra when they were here and all, they did, and Kebabish do now. But the other chippers then, including JRs, started to close before the nightclub crowd. The crowd started to get a little bit wild in later years, and it just wasn't worth it in the finish.
The old vodka and Red Bull taking over.
A little bit of that, I'd say, yeah. But and it was really interesting as well when we were working in JRs for John and Caroline. We used to clean the street every night. A member of staff would go out and spend an hour out on the street, and you'd start at maybe around where Queely's pub is, and you'd go up to where John Welch's Spar is, both sides of the road, and you'd clean the street, and there'd be no paper or box. Yeah, absolutely. And in proper order, that's.
I don't think Moon is doing that.
Yeah, no. But I used to love doing that bit actually, because when you'd be stuck behind the fryers,
meet the lads then.
When you'd be stuck behind the fryers all night, to get out into the fresh air was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you'd see all the characters going home, and you'd be amazed what you'd see at that hour of the night now, Shane.
Oh, funny business, is it? I don't know.
I could write a book on that one. New Year's Eve used to be great.
Yeah, geez, even now, how did you mention New Year's Eve? Like, a lot of people seem to be staying in now. I don't think they go out as much, do they?
Yeah, they don't. And I think
house parties.
I can actually tell you. I think it actually changed in 1999, the year of the millennium. People had always gone out for New Year's Eve, but there was a lot of this. There was a lot of hype and expectation around, the new millennium, and it was going to be phenomenal, and you weren't going to be able to get a babysitter, and the pubs were going to be packed. And I never bought into that, because I thought, the pubs are normally busy on New Year's Eve. Where are the extra people really going to come from? They're not really. People go out anyway. And people decided to stay at home and have house parties, And then you would have had maybe the smoking ban came in a couple of years after that. And
no smoking in the pubs. When did that?
That came in 2003, I think, was it? Or, around 2002, 2003. I think that came in 2003. Yeah.
What's on?
And people's habits changed. I mean, it's not about the smoking ban as such, but you know,
that just maybe one of the elements.
And if you think about it, people are at home now. You know, they have Sky Sports at home. They have hundreds of channels on their televisions. They have Netflix, and they can stay at home, have a bottle of wine. People generally tend to go out now if it's an occasion.
Yeah.
More so than going out of force of habit every weekend. You know, they might maybe go to a restaurant and then maybe go to a pub afterwards. But people's lifestyles and people's habits have changed, and that whole thing is evolving as well.
And it is, as you said earlier, it is ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But out of all the days of the year, like, could you narrate like one or two? What would be your favourite days to go out? Like, I love the Gold Cup now, the Cheltenham Friday.
I love Gold Cup
Day.
Day.
Great day.
I love Gold Cup Day, yeah, absolutely. And that's a day that has really taken off in the last few years.
I know people are taking off.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheltenham is always great. There's always a great buzz around. For anyone that's interested in horses, Cheltenham is great. And it's, you know, since they introduced the 4th day, the Gold Cup used to always be on a Thursday. The Gold Cup is now on a Friday for the last number of years. It has become a real great day out. People go to the pub, have the crack. Grand National Day is also a great day.
Yeah.
Patrick's Day is a good day in town, always. The
Always
tradition
a
of
good buzz
wedding the
around the
Shamrock,
place.
yeah, absolutely. Stevens' Day is a day I like myself. It was a day I always used to go out.
Yeah.
Myself and Pelle for years used to meet
Pele,
up, and
right?
we'd always go to the Black Hill and Michael O'Brien's, and we were young fellas then, but that's where we used to start.
You went to New York with Pele before, didn't you?
Yeah, I met him in New York in 1991. Yeah, we got lost in the Bronx actually one night at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Now that's a story and a half. Yeah, we were down around Manhattan sightseeing and stopping off here and there for an old drink every so often, and we went up in the Empire State Building and did all the usual things, and we said we'd head back anyway, and we got off at the wrong subway stop. And it was interesting, I must say. A really hot summer's night, I'll never forget it. Yeah, we were dressed like two cops basically, walking around the Bronx at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, we were fairly fit now. We could run that time, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're looking fit there.
So
now
we had great fun. Yeah, we had great fun there. Yeah, in New York. Yeah,
he's one man to Pele that no matter what he says or who he says it to, he manages to get away with it, cakes.
Yeah, he'd be a great guest on here. Yeah. Yeah, he has.
He'd be too much money, gangs. We wouldn't be able to afford him.
Afford the fee.
I have the medical card, you see. That's the only reason I can afford you.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, you can give me the details now in a minute. Yeah, he's a great guy to slag. Yeah, absolutely. Great fun to be with. Yeah, he's the only man I ever saw falling asleep in a nightclub, and he tied 2 balloons onto his hands, and then he went up to the ceiling. But anyway, that happened in a place called Freddy's in Mount Kisco in New York. Yeah,
Jesus, a true character.
Yeah,
he was also a vital cog on that 3-in-a-row team for the football.
Yeah, he was great. I mean,
was he corner forward or full forward? Was he?
Yeah, he played wing forward. Yeah,
and
he was captain. He was captain, of course, in 1990.
And of course, he Dum as well, the current manager of the senior hurling team.
That was a great team. They were phenomenal, really. Young team.
But I'm surprised.
Not the biggest of men.
But you said they were young.
Yeah, they were very young.
They could have won more than 3, really, could they, kids?
They were all bachelors as well, funnily enough. So maybe there's something in that as well. Yeah, they were very unlucky for 4. When they were stopped by the Nair in Cappoquin on a wet, dirty, rotten day. Yeah. Under controversial circumstances. But look,
we won't mention any names.
They were great,
we won't get into it.
And the underage success in the run up to that was fantastic also.
Yeah, but they was that at that time, like, they were 3 senior hurling or senior football titles. Sorry, how were we faring out in hurling?
They were equally as good at hurling.
Yeah,
they were absolutely. I can remember them beating Mount Sion in Ellis Park in '89 in senior hurling, and they focused on the football basically to win the football titles.
And we're on about, like, since we're talking here now, right?
Lots of clubs debate that, and they struggle to put out, you know, to compete at both senior hurling and senior football level.
But we're kind of the opposite. Like, we're, no disrespect, but we're aiming at the hurling now as well.
Yeah,
it's funny how it turns.
Sometimes one thing has to give for the other to come up. But
you to rob Peter
to pay Paul. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah.
And were they senior hurling then?
Yeah. They always had great tradition.
I'm not trying to catch you on the hop here now, but off the top of your head, when is the last time we won a senior club hurling?
Oh, it's back in 1940, 41, 42 in Lismore against Mount Sion.
It's a long time ago, lad.
Yeah, it is too long. Yeah,
that's a long time ago, and like now, like to some very skillful players. Hopefully, I know we talked about it earlier on, but hopefully they can get the job done now.
Absolutely, yeah. Dungarvan have always had a great.
He seemed to have a
way
great
of producing good hurlers,
but he seemed to have a great bond with the players' gigs.
Absolutely, that's important. I mean, if you don't, and if the players themselves,
no, but like beyond like being there, meant like he seemed to have the crack with the boys.
Yeah.
You know.
We enjoy their company, they enjoy our company, and that's all part of it. If people are involved in sport and they're not enjoying it, well, it's going to manifest itself at some stage. And I think it's important that lads work well with the management team, like their management team, respect them, and I think that's important.
And that's certainly...
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great. We've great regard for them.
Now, I think we'll wrap it up. By the time you're hearing this, lads, it'll be Saturday night, so best of luck to Dum Dum and his charges now tomorrow, Sunday. Hope you get the job done.
Yeah.
Damien,
hopefully.
Thank you very much for your time.
I hope you enjoyed the chain.
I did, because I know you're a very busy man.
No
and
problem,
we'll get the medical
Thanks
card
for having
details.
me. That's three great guests you've had now.
Yeah. And just before we go, self-praise is no praise. If we could, who should be guest number 4?
Who should be guest number 4?
Off the top of your head. Hopefully it won't cost too much now, because I think we'll be on Beans on Toast for a while after Mo Dunford.
I'd say this month's fees now are gone, definitely.
Yeah.
After Mo and after Mick and myself.
Mick totally. He broke us all together.
You could have Mick on every week now, and you could fill an hour.
Or more. Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to think. There's so many characters in Dungarvanshire. The list is endless.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you'll get. And in fairness, fair play to you for doing this, because it's a good old crack. People are enjoying it.
Just something different. Yeah, something different.
People are enjoying it, and fair play to you. Well done.
Hey, the Snapchat was funny with my head on the Lele.
Oh yeah.
I must put that up now.
Somebody want to watch out now. Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much, Damien.
On
the ball.
Thank you.